Hey, what's going on with ya? This is your boy Big MC, aka Mark, aka Robert James Winterborn, aka Skater Claus, aka a lot of things. This is my sometimes co-host Tyrus, aka Bug. What's good, Tyrus?
Good.
Let's cheers. All right, so we're breaking it off with another hip hop video, and if you haven't seen the previous ones, check them out. Because one of the things that we try and do is have both artist and theme tie-ins. So last time we talked about
Uh,
we talked
old
about
school versus new school.
yeah, old school versus new school production. So basically sample-based production style versus completely electronic, and then kind of the difference between stuff that's like inspired more by EDM and bass music versus stuff that came more out of the traditional hip hop culture. So one of the groups we talked about was Mighty Haiku. Mighty Haiku, a local Atlanta band. They're really awesome. Three members: Mr. SOS, formerly of the Cunning Linguists; Ricky Raw, who is a really dope staple of the Atlanta music scene. He's a promoter, producer, and rapper. He does a lot of events. He's really big into bass music, and you can hear the influence in the music from the group Mighty Haiku. And then A-Bomb, who's a dope lyricist. They all have individual projects, so check out Mighty Haiku. Check out all their projects. But last time we heard a verse from Mr. SOS, we heard a verse from A-Bomb, and I promised we'd get into something from Ricky Raw. So now we're going to listen to Ricky Raw's verse on the song Boom from Mighty Haiku, and it's Mighty, and then the word Hi, H-I-G-H, and then the word Ku, C-O-U-P. So it's not haiku like a poem. So this is the song Boom, and this is Ricky Raw's verse. So check it out. And just kind of listen to the production style. And this is very much straight up Atlanta stuff, although it's different from what you might hear on the radio, which is more like trap based or mumble rap stuff. So this is Boom by Mighty Haiku.
Boom, cause they don't have the boom. Boom. My style consumes the room, make you start tripping like you consumed a shroom. And now I'm holding a smurf, and so I know that in the morning I'll be going to church. I got that bass boom, rattle back, going to work. I'm in my old school Cadillac, pulling the skirt. I got that big box in the back, putting in work. I mean between the 15s is where I'm putting the work. Cause they don't have the boom, cause they don't have the boom. This song is hard as nails.
All right, so that is Ricky Raw's verse off of the song Boom. Tyrus, what did you think?
It was, kind of good.
Kind of good? Okay. Well, we've seen from the last video, Tyrus, I think, is more of a fan of the old school production style, where it's more sample-based, but at the same time, I love Mighty Haiku. They're one of my favorites. I'd call them kind of like party hop. They're definitely more bass music influenced. Just a couple things to note. There's an official video, which is dope, so check it out, and it's filmed in the Claremont Lounge. And if you don't know what the Claremont Lounge is, it's a staple of Atlanta. And I'm not going to go into it now because, I got my co-host here with me, but look into what the Claremont Lounge is if you've never been there and you don't know what it is, okay? So that's one thing. The other thing to say is, again, this is like electronic music influenced, and it's not this song, but Bass Nectar actually did a remix of one of their songs, which is called 808, and that song was also featured in an episode of Breaking Bad. And so that's a pretty cool thing, I think, for a local Atlanta band. And not only that, kind of the proceeds that they made off of that, Ricky took a lot of that money and he reinvested it into doing different local music festivals, which are basically bass music heavy, but some hip hop. One's called 404 Fest, and if you are unaware, 404 is one of the, I don't know, what do they call it? The codes, like the 3-digit code that goes before your phone number. So like in Atlanta, it's like 404, 770, and 678. So There's 404 Fest, which is more local artists, and it happens around April 4th. And then there's 808 Fest, which is more just electronic music, bass music in general, and that happens around 808, around August 8th every year. So check that out. Like I said, Ricky Raw is a really great guy. He's doing a lot to try and help promote music in Atlanta, both just, within the genres that he likes and also just local artists. So shout outs to Mighty Haiku, shout outs to Ricky Raw. Check out 808, check out 404 Fests, and just check out the video for Boom, because again, it's in the Claremont Lounge, so there's something special there. So I guess I'll just say that's kind of an Easter egg if you don't know what the Claremont Lounge is. Oh, good cough. Thank you. That really added. All right, so next we're going into Jaron Benton. And Jaron Benton is a really cool cat. He's from Decatur, which, if you're not really aware of the geography of Atlanta, Decatur is technically a separate city, but it's basically part of Atlanta. I used to live in Boston for a while. It was like, I don't know, it was like 13 years ago or something. But in Boston and there's Cambridge. And essentially, they're the same. It's a small urban area, and, you can get there on the train easily. It's pretty close, but they're technically different cities. And that's kind of how it is with Atlanta and Decatur. Decatur's just right down the street from me. It's just that they're technically different cities. So Jared Benton is from Decatur. He's very lyrical. His production style, I'd say, again, it's, it kind of straddles the line between more traditional Atlanta stuff and then stuff that's a little bit more innovative. But for me, I think that his lyricism and his delivery is a really high level, whereas a lot of the stuff, and I'm not going to name names, I'm not trying to be discouraging of anyone, but a lot of the stuff in Atlanta that's like trap, sometimes I think is lacking in lyricism. So this is Jaron Benton, and again, he's just a really good rapper. He's a cool guy. He's kind of out there. He is known for wearing a, Davy Crockett style coonskin cap. So this is Jared Benton, and the song is called Schizo, and it has an official video again, which is dope. So check it out. So let me just play a little bit of this.
Yeah, I'm throwing D's on the Cadillac. Ride through the Cater, nigga, bumping Burt Bacharach. You a fucking liar, faggot, never slung a chroma crack. Bash your fucking window when I drag you out your Pontiac. Tell your mom the zombies back, fucking hypochondriac. Gag a bitch and shove her in the dryer at the laundromat. Cocaine and Insomniac, sipping on some cognac. Dude, this fucking album sucks, I want my fucking money back. Disadvantage, I'm schizophrenic, these bitches panic. Dick and Janice, I'm popping Xanax and speaking Spanish. Nana blanc, I ain't say a word. A fucking nerd, I'm riding dirty with the Mossberg. I am awkward, I'm sipping corn syrup.
Riding dirty with the Mossberg. You got me
what
one.
Up the 808 Blake and Mike Wahlberg. I punch through the sheetrock and make the wall hurt. Teen Wolf, I claw and dress and panties off her. Just got a new LeBaron and the seats is all fur. Look at my brain fried, heart's gone and my balls hurt. I grabbed the 9 and 45 and let them all squirt. Mr. Benton, bitches say they sick of them. I'm up at Mickey D's, I get an English McMuffin. You hang around all pigs like you McLovin. I shove a freaking brick inside a fucking brick oven. You niggas fake like mall cop Paul Blart. I run you over with the shopping cart at Walmart. How about the Subaru, huffing the tube of glue? Your girl ring around my dick just like a hula hoop.
Alright, I'm going to stop it there for brevity's sake, but as you can see, this song is just wall-to-wall rhymes. It's one of those songs where it's hard to find a place to stop it. So, Tyrus, what did you think about the song?
It was... I didn't really like it.
You didn't really like it? What didn't you like about it?
I didn't like that it was only rhyming.
Yeah?
I didn't like the video.
You didn't like the video? Okay, well, hey, not everything's for everyone. And like I said, all this stuff is about my personal taste. Everything I play is stuff that I think is dope. And actually, in the last video, I talked about how I was going to, highlight some stuff in Atlanta that I liked and highlight some stuff that I thought sucked. And I pulled back from that because I was like, you know what? I don't want to detract from what people are doing. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean it's not good. It doesn't mean it's not valid. So, yeah, I just decided to talk about positive stuff and just kind of talk about some different rappers. The first few I want to point out are ones that are maybe a little bit less known, and then talk about a few that are more established Atlanta rappers that you probably heard on the radio. But shout out to Jaron Benton. I've seen him at A3C a bunch of times. A3C, if you don't know, is the biggest hip hop festival in the world that takes place in Atlanta every year. Tyrus, did you go to A3C last year? Yeah. Who did we see?
No,
Who were we going to see?
I don't know. The Wu-Tang Clan.
And what do you do at the Wu-Tang Clan?
You have fun.
And what else? This, right? Wu-Tang, 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 Wu-Tang. Yeah, so check out A3C if you don't know anything about it. It's like a conference. It's a great networking opportunity for people within the industry. You know, they have different sessions where you can learn a lot of cool stuff. They have really unique events. So one of them that I love is they have a producers battle. So instead of having like an MC battle, like a rap battle where it's lyricism, they have different producers come up and just play like, 30, 40-second clips of beats that they produce. And then they have people critique them, and then, they go on to further rounds based on kind of what people think their work is based on others. There was also one year where they did an event where they had 5 different DJs in a room and they just took turns spinning, but they were all people who are on the 1s and 2s, and they could only spin 45s that were classic soul 45s, and that was really dope. But every year they have a good mix of up-and-coming artists, small artists, and OGs in the game, old school artists, and then, some fairly big names too. And it's just a good way to get exposure, to learn, and for the hip-hop community to come together. Wu-Tang! Like, a lot of people call it hip-hop summer camp. So, if you haven't been to A3C and you love hip-hop, go to A3C and hit me up. Hit up your boy, and we'll meet up there. So, the next, why I brought up A3C too, is this is a guy that we, found out about from A3C. And he plays every year, and he's absolutely dope. So he's J Live, and he's, oh, gimmick. We gotta do the gimmick. All right, gimmick done. So, yeah, we found out about him, like over a decade ago from A3C. He was the second, headliner before Killer Mike. And he's actually, so he's from New York. He's from Bushwick. He actually used to be a language arts teacher for middle school, I believe. And his name's J Live. But he himself claims that he's from New York, but he also represents ATL. So he's kind of like an asterisk guy where, he's ATL. He spends a lot of time here. He claims it. If you go on his website, it says JLive NYC/ATL, and he's big into A3C. This is what's really special about JLive, though, right? So JLive is not only a dope rapper, but he is a DJ and producer himself. And, he does a lot of his own beats. He's worked with legends. You might have heard, like, Wu-Tang Clan throw out the name Justice Allah. He also goes by that. He's worked with a ton of people in New York that are just legends of the game. But here's the really, really, really cool thing about J Live, right? So he will actually, during his live set, spin records and make cuts while he's rapping, which is insane. Like, if you know anything about rhythm and beat and how difficult that is, I mean, there's a reason why you typically don't see people who play drums being the ones who sing. And the same with bassists, because those are more rhythmic, and then if you're trying to work rhymes off of, the beat you're creating, sometimes you don't want them to fall in the same places exactly, and it's difficult to do that if you're, with both hands trying to manipulate the beat and then rhyming on a different beat that works with the beat you're creating. So it's very technically difficult. But he's a bucket list live act to see. You have to see J Live at some point. It's just a must. And sorry for all the background noise. I got the baby crying. My wife, she loves J Live. but you know, she has a little bit of beef with him because he didn't come up and say hi to us this one time when we saw him. I don't know. I don't know if it has to do with the fact that he's part of the 5% Nation or whatever, but I don't care. He's still dope. Also, he plays chess, which is cool. And he J Live, and he will like during A3C, he will invite people to come play chess with him, in the lobby of the hotel where all the artists stay. So this is J Live. This is called Satisfied on all of the above. Dope track. Everything by J Live is dope, so check it out. Justice Allah.
Camera, tragedy, comedy, romance, better dance when you fighting stance, so you never have a fighting chance in a rat race where the referee's son started way in advance, but still you living the American dream. Silk PJ sheets and down pillows, who the fuck would wanna wake up? You got it good like concepts after the breakup. In 4-car garage, just more space to take up. You even bought your mama new whip, scrapped the jalopy, $1,000 habit, $1 million hobby. You a success story, everybody wanna copy, but few work for it. Most get jerked for it. If you think that you can ignore it, you're ignorant. A fat wallet still never made the man free. They say to eat good, yo, you got to swallow your pride. But that game plan, I'm not satisfied. The poor get worse, the rich get richer.
Alright, so that's the first verse and kind of the beginning of the chorus. As you can see, it's that, you know, this is kind of a theme tie-in to last video because that beat is very much more the old school style of sample-based hip-hop than the stuff that we heard previously with Mighty Haiku and Jaren Benton. But yeah, I mean, again, he works up the ones and twos. He's been around forever. He's worked with the legends, and so, you know, he's got more of that 90s boom bap style, but he's a dope lyricist. He's a absolute, he's a next level talent. Like, he sits in rarefied air. And he's one of those people that it's sad with how great he is that he's not more appreciated. I mean, I'd say he's extremely underappreciated. So check out J Live. Check out all his music, but more importantly, try and go see him live. Tyrus, what did you think about the song?
It was great.
It was great. See, Tyrus thought it was great. So we got the Tyrus stamp of approval. Do a stamp. Go stamp.
Stamp.
Stamp of approval by Tyrus. And as you can see, Tyrus likes the old school style of production a little bit more, if you haven't noticed. So, you know, again, you know, both of them are good, old school, new school, whatever. But people have their taste, and obviously Tyrus has his taste, which is old school, which makes sense because the first group he really got into was the Beastie Boys. And I mean, you know, Paul's Boutique, classic, but, you know, they kind of pioneered some of the sample-based production style. So, all right, next we're going into a group where, you know, maybe some of you have heard of them, maybe not. This is a group that I absolutely love out of Atlanta, and I don't think they're that well known, but I don't really know. I'm not a fanboy. I'm not an internet fanboy. I don't know, you know, how far people's reach is, but they're called The Difference Machine, and The Difference Machine is they're so good, and they're very outside the box. Their beat production is a mix between old school and new school, which you'll hear with this track because there's a lot of vocal samples in it, and like vocal samples that like just remind you of, you know, old school stuff. Like, you know, they have something about razor blade under the tongue, which, you know, if you listen to hip hop in the 90s, it's something you heard a lot. But then they're also just, in the lyrics are, you know, not just street stuff. It's very out of the box and kind of, I don't know, I guess I'd call it trip hop almost. Also, with that said, they do an amazing live show. Again, another tie-in. So I've seen them several times, but a lot of the times I've seen them was at A3C. And so a few years ago, I don't know what year it was, but we saw them play right before the like last set of the night. And the last set of the night was De La Soul. And I mean, De La killed it. But it was hard for them to follow The Difference Machine. Part of the reason I think was most of the times I've seen them have been at small clubs. And, you know, so it was basically just speakers and this and that. When they were playing before De La, I mean, they were on a really well put together stage. The sound system was great. Bless you. And They also had screens to display visuals, and their visual game was just out of control. So they blew me away. I mean, I'd always loved them, but that was the show where I was like, all right, the Difference Machine is what's up. So this is a song called Futuristic Blast, which is off of an album called The Psychedelic Sounds of the Difference Machine. And again, Difference Machine, group out of Atlanta, Georgia, kind of a mix of old school and new school. So give it a listen and see what you think.
It's the futuristic blast from the past. Disconnect your alarm clock to break your hourglass. Take that rollie off and throw it in the trash. It's closing on you fast, yet ain't no time to lapse. Get a grasp on the weightless, infinitely spacious oasis. Far above and beyond the basics, and yet keep the fundamentals sacred. Like tablets written on by the ancients, without to give a fuck about a chart placement. Come on, that don't make me, nah. And if it don't make me, it don't make sense. I take trips to faraway places, still keep my soul in the basement. The only time is your present living, to be defined by your next decision. Unless your television pulled an exorcism, and thoughts start to fall like an expedition, and you get pulled into the next dimension. That's why it's called an idiot box, cause that's what the majority of idiots watch. We in the city of Atlantis, a committee of cops, and a bunch of fuckboys who won't give me my props. Don't matter grandfather or digital clock. Now is the time for the message to launch. Reach critical mass from analytical thought. Set apart from a distance called physical shot. It's timeless, bitch, every motherfucking line is. Go back to the rest of the crowd and stay spineless. I watch in the Euphrates, rent in the Tigris. Burnt down Babylon and pissed out the fires. Walk the road less travel, free will exercises. Now all these dumb niggas don't understand the virus. Cause while y'all suckers play games for cash prizes, I dig deep to your brain capsize.
All right, so that was Futuristic Blast by The Difference Machine. Tyrus, what'd you think?
It was great.
See, it was great. And again, this just talks to taste, you know? You can tell. Tyrus likes stuff that's got more of a old school sample-based sound. And that's fine. I mean, like what you like. You know, I'm not trying to say things are better than others. I'm just trying to talk about hip-hop and talk about the differences and things I like and things that I think maybe other people, you know, might be able to appreciate the music more if they think about it. So the first part of this, you know, we did Mighty Haiku, we did Jerry Benton, we did J Live, we did The Difference Machine, and those are all people who are a little bit less known, I would say. So I'm just going to do three really quick who are like big Atlanta names. Gimmick. And I mean, again, there's too many for me to mention. I mean, there's a lot of people I love. Obviously, Outkast is huge, and I'm going to touch a little bit on them. You know, T.I., I mean, a lot of people like, you know, Future and 2 Chainz and this and that. One thing I'll say is, that, you know, there's a lot of Atlanta music I just don't like, but, you know, again, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just personal taste. I think that things have just moved in a direction that doesn't fit my taste as much. But it's not to say that there's anything wrong with it. So the next one we're going to go into, and let me make sure real quick, is there anything about the Difference Machine I missed? Nope. So I'm going to play a little bit of Gucci Mane, because Gucci Mane is Atlanta. Like, you know, Outkast is Atlanta at one era, but then, I mean, like, Gucci Mane is Atlanta right now. And he has been for a really long time. He's put a lot of people on. You know, also he reps my hood. I mean, he reps Zone 6, East Atlanta, which is where I live, which I like. I mean, the whole, like, concept of trap and just using those terms and then trap music, he really helped to popularize that. So, I would be remiss if I wasn't to play Gucci Mane. Not to say that there's other people that I left out that aren't as at the same level, but let me just play a little bit of Gucci Time. And you can kind of hear, like, especially with the contrast between that last song, which is more classic style, and this song, which is definitely more like the Atlanta sound. So, here we go. Gucci Mane, Gucci Time.
I need everybody to report to the dance floor right now, right now. The world is very different now. You know why? You know why? It's Gucci time.
Big Gucci trap boys call me Big Gucci. Timepiece, got a Swiss blade. Swiss cheese out of hater if he act foolish. Swiss Big Gucci, man, call it trap music. I think I need an SP. These rappers best respect me. They try to run, I test me. They gon' have to arrest me. Without a doubt, I think I'm out. The kid is all she think about. She cheated with a flare, but it didn't spill a drink about. Do you know what time it is? Gucci time, 15 past the diamond bill. And I'm hood, rich, wealthy, and all that there.
All right, so that's a little bit of Gucci time, and I just have to play Gucci. I like Gucci a lot. It's not quite my taste in music, though. Tyrus, what did you think about it?
It was pretty good.
Okay, so it seems like you liked it more than like the Mighty Haiku and the Jerry Benton, but not as much as the last song, the song by the Dimmons Machine. Is that fair? Okay, cool. All right, so that's Gucci. I mean, Gucci just is Atlanta. That's it. I mean, you can't talk about Atlanta music without talking about Gucci, man. And I mean, like I said, there's people I left out that are integral parts of what makes Atlanta Atlanta and what made Atlanta Atlanta. I can't get to all of them, but I think that Gucci is like pretty much at the top of that list. So I want to touch on him. Another artist tie-in. So this is from a previous video, not last week. Yes. Tyrus is taking a break. But anyway, so in one of the previous videos, when we were talking about passing the mic off between MCs, we talked about Run the Jewels. You know, one of the members is Killer Mike. Killer Mike is an Atlanta rapper. He was part of the Dungeon family, which is where kind of Outkast and a lot of other artists were born out of. It was basically a studio that was in somebody's parents' basement. And there's all these influential artists that went on to great success that came out of there. And Killer Mike's one of them. He's done a lot of work with Outkast. Again, right now, Run the Jewels is his main thing. He put out a lot of solo albums, though, and he's just dope. I think he's kind of got that ATL sound. He's a great lyricist. He's hard. At the same time, though, like, you know, he took off before, like, the whole trap thing came in, so his style is not really trap. It's kind of based out of kind of like a transitional time between more of the, like, sample-based stuff from the 90s and then the stuff that was becoming popular in Atlanta at the time. So this is just a tiny clip of the song Action Now. I don't know what album it's off of, but you can look it up, and it's Action, AKSHON, and this is Killer Mike.
Let's do this shit.
Killer keeps it honest, cause reality is perception with a weak stomach, bubbling uneasy like the bowels of hell. Ooh, enough to make a black ghost turn pale. Yeah. 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 K-I-L-L. This is the name they can't call to the game. Not like these rappers who spit the same. Separate lanes from their chains. My mind don't slack. I'm totally focused on beating up tracks. Monstrous music to beat in your lack. Thousand wide amp with woofers and back. Link to the left if you burning a sack. Baby got back and it's in baby fat. Pardon me, dog, for chasing the cat. I'm hitting off kittens, me out like that. I like the front and I'm loving the back. I like the fight and I'm hoping she scratch. Escalate dipping, I'm holding a lane. Mama's a scholar, she blowing my brain. Ain't this the light? Snapping and trapping and rapping and prepping all night. Lil' mama's a plumber, she's handling right. Deal with a feel, she handling right. Like I'm her son. Smallest thing on the team, but the live is one. Cock, loaded, bust like a gun. Y'all better run. Run. Talk. Yeah, all in your trunk. Yeah, right in the...
Alright, so that's a little bit of Action Now by Killer Mike. You know, Killer Mike's dope, so check him out. Again, came out of the Dungeon family, so affiliated with Outkast and a lot of other rappers. And that's just going to take me into one last short clip by Big Boy. And here's the thing. I agree that Andre 3000 is one of the greatest ever. And Outkast is one of the best rap groups of all time. And they are Atlanta. They represent everything that's great about Atlanta and about rap music in general. I actually prefer Big Boy's style better, but I would readily admit that Andre is technically the better rapper. But here's why I wanted to play some of Big Boy. Is one, you can't, again, just like with Gucci, you can't talk about Atlanta rap without bringing up, either Outkast or one of the members. But Big Boy, I've been living in Atlanta for, 12 or 13 years, something like that. And I've been going to shows, so many shows. I can't even tell you how many I've been to. And there's all these people that are out there repping Atlanta hard, but you never see them out in the streets. You never see them at shows. Big Boy, if he's not on tour out of town somewhere else, if there's someone who's in town that he's done a verse with and they're playing, he will come out on stage and do the verse with them. He is just a huge supporter of the local scene. I can't stress this enough. I mean, there's so many people out there. I mean, there's all these guys, the newer guys, Waka Flocka and 2 Chainz and, T.I. and there's nothing wrong with their music. Again, I mean, a lot of it's not my flavor, but you don't see those guys coming up on stage at, shows frequently. But with Big Boy comes out. Big Boy is here for the city. He's in the streets. He comes out and he plays at shows. So I'm just gonna play a little bit of Shutterbug and then we'll end it.
I keep it player, why some choose to play it safe. Boy, check the resume, it's risky business in the AA. And I've been witness to this history ever since the 10th grade. We went from rock and brace to the 10th phase. I twist my A head to the side just for style. Or throw on the Gucci bucket with the fly, super fly. Wow, the Southern private known to shut it down. It ain't so country though, pimpin', this ain't no form of pile. I'm sorry to slaughter, I keep the heat cooked to altar and altar to satisfy my people in Georgia and cross the water. And across the border, the essays are getting smarter. They got flour for tortillas and lettuce for enchiladas. If you follow, wink, wink, no doubt we don't speak in a blink. Them folks can have you sleeping in the clink. I'm taking the tissue and peeing on the seat. It's the BIGBOIOUT. Now party people in the club, it's time to cut a rug and throw the juice up in the sky just for the shutter buzz. I'm double fisted and you empty, you can grab a club. Boy, stop, I'm just playing, let me down.
Alright, so that's a little bit of Shutterbug from Big Boy. And again, I just wanted to play that because one, it's dope. Two, I like his style, and you can see the beat. It's not really like trap. It's kind of just like more modern production. And he holds it down for Atlanta. And he's a great rapper. So what did you think, Tyrus? Did you like it?
Yeah.
Tyrus liked it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. The only other thing I'd like to say is there's I don't want to make these videos negative, but there's a lot of music coming out of Atlanta that I don't really like, and it has to do with the beats being really poorly produced, and then also the rappers not being lyrical, mumbling, stuff like that. And then there's also this phenomenon where people will play shows where instead of playing the beat and then just rhyming over it, they'll play the whole song. They'll basically just imagine putting the CD in and putting it on play, and it plays the beat and their vocal part, and then they rap on top of their own vocal part. And that's whack to me, man. Like, that's not hip-hop. That's not live music. I mean, if I just want to listen to your song and hear someone rap the same part over the part that's already recorded, like, I can do that in my living room with my friends, and some of them probably have better vocal delivery and diction than you do. So that is the Atlanta video. I'm sorry it ran kind of long. There's a lot of distractions around, but holler at your boy. Let me know if I got something wrong. Let me know if you disagree. Let me know if you liked it. Let me know if you didn't like it. Let me know, any comments that you might have. And, check out Skater Claws, my skateboard charity. Come mess with Atlanta. And, just be good. Mess with your boy Tyrus. Don't get captured. That's the most important part. Alright, this is Big MC for Hip Hop Breakdown. Sign out. Peace.